Hello, welcome to Music Appreciation. I'm Dr. Salmonen, and I'm really excited to be here and to be able to offer this to you completely 100% online. I will assume that everybody has found all the information on Blackboard with the assignments, the writing topics, the discussion boards, and the week-by-week reading assignments. If you have any questions, just let me know, send me an email. So let's talk about your music. Probably most of you don't listen to classical music regularly, which is why you're taking this course. I understand that a lot of you may not even like classical music and you're taking this course because you can't do art, and that's okay. I just hope that by the end of this course you'll have a greater appreciation for not only classical music, but it'll help you understand and get more out of your own music and any other kind of music that you'll be listening to. So let's think about what kinds of music you do listen to. Do you listen to just one style of music? Do you listen to many different kinds of music? Think about why you listen to it. Or do you really listen to it? Is it just background and you don't really notice it? When do you listen to it? Do you listen when you're studying? Do you have music on all the time? Where do you listen to it? In your car? In the shower? How do you listen to it? Do you listen on CDs? Do you listen through an iPod? Do you listen on the television, the radio? There, we sometimes have music around us that we don't even notice, such as when we're shopping, or music on television, music in the movies. So I'd like you to think about your listening habits, what it is you listen to mostly, when, where, and how. And then I'd like to know what kinds of music you do not listen to. Is there some music that you just hate? Some music you just won't listen to? And do you listen to classical music? If so, why? If not, why not? A lot of people tell me it's boring and it all sounds the same. So I hope by the end of this quick semester that you at least won't think it all sounds the same. So take a few minutes and think about this, and these are things you can talk about in your first discussion board. Okay, I'd like you now to listen to 4 different excerpts of different styles of music and write down what you're thinking. What do you hear in this music? What are your emotional, any physical reactions to the music? And try to explain as much as possible why. I know we don't have a lot of music vocabulary yet, such as tempo or instrumentation or chromaticism, that sort of thing, but you use your own words and talk about speed, talk about the instruments, talk about loudness and softness. Now I found it's best in making these recordings to let you click on the blue uh, words there. It will take you directly to the YouTube and then close it and do the next and the next. I've tried recording it on here for you and it wasn't very satisfactory. So pause this, and when you come back and you've had a chance to write these down, we'll continue. Okay, let's talk about how to listen to classical music. This music is probably very unfamiliar to you. It really does to you sound all the same, and you're not used to listening to pieces that may be this long, maybe without any words in them. So I'm going to give you a few little tips on how to make this easier so it's not just a bunch of notes floating around in your head. Aaron Copland was a 20th century American composer, and many of his works are still played today, still very popular. In addition to being a composer and a conductor and a music director, he wrote a book called What to Listen For in Music. And in this book, he gives us 3 different levels of listening. Now I have them written here on the PowerPoint, and if you click on each one, it will give you an example of a kind of music of that level of listening. The first level is sensual, and this is background music. This is music that we might not even be aware of that is happening around us. Where do we hear this? Well, we hear this in shopping malls, in stores. We hear it in restaurants. We may have a particular kind of music in this restaurant that's fitting, a different kind of music in a different restaurant. Does it affect our mood? Do we even notice? How does it change the ambiance or the environment? Does this music encourage you to buy more product or to stay longer. This first example of sensual is what I call uh-oh music in films. It lets you know who the bad guy is. You know definitely something is going to happen. But with a sensual level of listening, do you need a college course to understand this music? Probably not. We feel it on a very basic level. The second level is expressive. This engages our mind and gets our attention. We apply extra meaning to it, extra musical association. It may reference a story that we enjoyed or something like our song. You and your boyfriend or husband or girlfriend have a particular song that is meaningful to you. It could be a song that makes you cry, or this song always makes me think of my grandmother. Right, this is a different level of listening. It's very personal. It's going to be different for everyone. But maybe we don't need a college course to understand on this level because it is so personal. I had a movement from the piece called Planets, called Mars, and it was my mad music. Whenever I was angry, I would come home and put this piece on, play it really loudly, and sometimes I had to listen to it 3 times. Okay, and the last level of listening is the musical level. This is what we refer to as art music rather than pop music. When you know more on the musical level, you get more out of it, whether you're listening to classical music or not. So it helps you decide why you may or may not like something, if something is good or bad, just as taking art history and art appreciation classes helps you understand why good art is good art and other art may be just commercial or popular. So take a listen to all these 3 different excerpts and then we will move along. Okay, let's take a look at the differences between classical and popular music. One thing that is different is lyrics. Lyrics is the word for the words to a popular song. Most popular songs have lyrics. A lot of classical music does not, strictly instrumental. Lyrics tell you what to think. Whereas if it's instrumental, no lyrics, you're left to figure this out for yourself. If there is any meaning, or if it's strictly what we call absolute music with no story to it, no picture. Another difference is the volume. There are not extreme louds and softs in popular music, what we call no variation in dynamics. Mostly it's loud and it stays within a very narrow range. It makes classical music, which changes a lot from very soft, very loud, and back again, difficult for me to listen to in my car because I can't keep the volume control set at a particular place because I'll lose sounds out or it'll get too loud. But with popular music, it's intended to be played in clubs and in cars where people aren't going to be adjusting the volume. Another difference is in length. Most popular songs are between 2 and 4 minutes long. That seems to be the amount of time people like to stay in one mood or one idea these days. Whereas when we get into our classical music, we may end up having symphonies that are 25 minutes long to 40 minutes long. It requires a lot more attention to concentrate on the music for that amount of time. Another difference are the themes or the melodies. In popular music, the themes or the melodies don't develop. They tend to stay pretty much the same and repeat often so that it's easier to remember that song. Whereas in classical music, the idea of composers is to take a theme or a melody and develop it and play with it and make it more interesting and then come back to that. And the last difference I think we have between popular and classical music is that popular music is theatrical. Okay, if you think of a lot of music videos, right? We need to see something, we need to have action, we need to have costumes, we need to have smashing of guitars on the stage or whatever. Whereas if you picture in your mind a classical concert, the musicians are generally in tuxedos or all black and the focus is not on the performers, but on the music itself. Okay, here I have a cartoon of Peanuts from several years ago that I think is very appropriate to our class here. That in classical music, you don't always have to be doing something to it. It's music for music's sake. So as we continue, we're going to talk about my tips for listening and getting the most out of your listening exercises here. Basically, you need to listen to music carefully. You could consider it like the way you read a magazine versus the way you read a textbook or some literature, right? You need to really focus on what you're doing. All right, so let's take a look at these steps. First, you need to give your undivided attention to what you're listening to. Multitasking is not always a good thing because you can't focus. It's not possible to listen and read at the same time. If you're only going to listen for 2 minutes and the piece is 10 minutes, that's not long enough. And you also need to give it a chance. A little bit of positive attitude will help a lot, but just try it. Just focus and try to listen carefully without any other distractions, without children and dog and TVs and other music playing at the same time. Okay, concentrate first on the main themes of the work. These are the major melodies. Now there's a lot going to be going on in addition to these melodies, but it helps to focus on just learning the themes, just learning the melodies at first, rather than trying to hear everything all at once. It's kind of like when you were learning how to drive a car. You couldn't seem to be doing everything at the same time, and you had to focus on just one thing, like staying inside the lines, until you could learn to do several of these things at the same time. These listening guides, active listening guides that are available on the Cengage website and CourseMate, are great for helping you, pointing out where the themes are, changing colors, and following along in the music for you so that you can learn to tell what the themes are and what's important. So once you have learned the main themes or the main melodies of it, you need to remember them. Memory is important, as these themes, as I said earlier, will be manipulated and developed and then come back. So if you look at this picture, if you've learned the main themes, which might be the black lines, and you can tell where they are, it doesn't matter yet so much what's going on in the green or blue lines, but that, oh, okay, here's the black one again. Oh, here's the black one. Here's that theme. Then once you've learned the themes, then you can start noticing what happens to them as they come along. Here it is again, but it's a little different. Oh, here it is again, different still. Okay, apply knowledge to what is heard. As we're reading about these things in the textbook, as you're learning this new vocabulary and what to listen for, try to apply them. Things like tempo and meter and the form, how is it constructed, instrumentation, which instruments are playing. But again, you can't do everything at once at the beginning, so it is helpful to listen to these assignments more than one time so you can focus on first learning the themes, then seeing how the themes change, and then listening again. Once you've learned the themes and see how they return or how they are changed, then you can start looking at how the little things that are happening and going on around it. But again, it's not easy to listen to everything at once. So learning the themes before you try to look at all of the details will help you. Okay, notice your own personal reactions to music. I said that not all music has a story or is descriptive, but it can affect you on an emotional level as you're listening. You can use those feelings, say, oh, I feel this way because the brass are playing, or it's because of the rhythm, or it's because of the tempo or the volume here. These will help you notice these things when it comes back again later in the music.